Bradley, thank you so very much. And for all of you that have joined us tonight, I am most appreciative. I'm most appreciative of your interest, of your ongoing concern about what is happening in our government. So thank you for joining us. I want this to be a big question and answer night. So I'm going to be very, very brief here. We are 6 months into the second Trump administration, and everything we feared about Project 2025, it is happening. Everything we were concerned about, but really didn't get a chance to mature in the election running up until Trump's victory last November. All of those concerns, they are happening. We are in a world of hurt 6 months into the Trump administration, and it is a major OMG. Oh my God. Is it really happening? Is it real? The fact of the matter, it's worse than real. Right off the bat, eliminating USAID. I just said, at that moment, I said, did Trump ever hold a starving child in their hand? Did they hold that baby and watch that baby just try to live? They didn't. That was 6 months ago. And yesterday, I was talking to teachers at one of the high schools in this area, and they said, the CalFresh program, that's the SNAP program, that's the supplemental food program, it's gone. The support system for it is gone. We're going to have that same hunger here. And then there's Gaza and all that's happening there. And it is a major, oh my God, is it really? Is it real? It's worse than real. And here we are. Here we are 6 months in, and we've got 18 more months at a minimum to have to deal with this man that is unhinged, untied, and doing anything he wants to do. And what he wants to do is to establish an imperial presidency. We've got to fight back. That's part of what I'm doing tonight. If you're a Republican and I am raging you, if you're angry at what I have to say, good. Just listen in. And then you make a decision. Make a decision of whether you want to continue down the Trump path or whether we need to fight back with everything we have, every ounce, every moment, pushing back wherever we can to put a stop to this absolute insanity that is ripping this nation and indeed this world apart. So with that, let's get going. I'd like to have your questions. I'll do the best to answer. Maybe it'll take me longer than a minute. You keep your questions to a minute. I'll try to keep my answers to no more than 2. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for your concern, and let's get going.
Thank you so much, Congressman. And as I said, please raise your hand and put your questions in the Q&A box in order to get them addressed. I'm going to give you, the next person is going to be John Soffel, and then on deck is going to be Donna Graves. John, you should be live.
Hi. Yeah, so I was just wondering, the Pope has called for an end to the war in Gaza, and former Prime Minister of Israel compared the situation to a concentration camp. How are you addressing the forced starvation that's happening in Gaza right now?
I'm addressing it every way I can. I've seen too much starvation in my career. In Ethiopia as a volunteer, Peace Corps volunteer, later during the famines, and then throughout the world, Patty running famine camps around the world when she was at USAID. And what is happening in Gaza is flat out genocide. There's no other way to describe it. When a government purposely causes people to die, it is wrong, it is genocide, and it absolutely has to stop. I have been on this issue for several months now as this humanitarian situation has gone on. I recall that the US government tried to build a pier, and I said, that's not going to work. There's no way you're going to get enough food across that pier. And in fact, it didn't happen. What has to happen is Israel has to open up the gates and let the food come in, and to provide the necessary security. the notion of this new hired contractors to provide food wasn't going to work at the outset, and it didn't, and starvation is occurring. And beyond that, I have opposed from the various earliest days of Israel's attack into Gaza, which was justified. There's no doubt that Israel has the right to protect itself. Hamas created the problem for Israel. The deaths were directly related to Hamas and their intrusion into Israel. And Israel has the right and still has the right to protect itself, but it does not have the right to wholesale bomb communities of innocent civilians that are not combatants. They had no right to do that. I said more than, almost 17 months ago, no more bombs, no more 500-pound bombs, no more 2,000-pound bombs, period. No more bombs to wipe out whole blocks of buildings. I've maintained that all along. Israel has got to change its policies. I noted yesterday actually, that there are elements in the Israeli government that has finally found the voice to say, this is wrong, it must stop, and in fact, it is genocide. Thank you for your question.
Thank you, sir. Next, we have Donna Graves, and then on deck, we have Lynn Dunlap. Donna, you are live.
Thank you. Thank you, Congressman Garamendi. I helped found Rosie the Riveter National Park in your district. It is one of 4 national parks in the East Bay. We are remarkably rich in the history that our federal government has chosen to highlight. And now the operations of the national parks and the history they can tell are being attacked.
Donna, I may have lost you. Are you still there? Well, I know-
I just hit unmute again. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
So basically, these national parks are our treasures, and they have worked very hard to tell the history of our communities with community members. The government is now not only underfunding them, but trying to dictate what stories can be told and make sure that they glorify that. Basically, they take us back to a 1950s version of American history. And I'm wondering what you would like to do about this, or what you can.
Well, I'll do everything I possibly can. I was Deputy Secretary of the United States Department of Interior in the 1990s with Clinton. And we actually did our very best to broaden the historic narrative in the national parks to include every possible individual or organization, as well as the environmental issues, to tell the full story. The Trump administration is going exactly the wrong direction. First of all, they are gutting the Department of Interior. They're gutting the national parks. They're making it extraordinarily difficult for the normal summer temporary hires to be made. And they are in the process of, as you just said, they are in the process of editing out anything that they consider to be diversity, equity, or inclusion. Diversity, you think there's any national, well, let me put it this way. There is no national park in America that was created only by a bunch of white Christian men. Not happened. It didn't happen that way. There were people that were there before, the Native Americans. They played a role in those national parks, giving us the extraordinary things that we like to see. Like we go down to the Navajo area and we look at the cliff dwellings. You think those are white Christian men to put that together? So you tell the story of the Native Americans, their struggles, which incidentally occurred during a period of climate change. And then you talk about the environmental issues. With regard to Rosie the Riveter, there is no better story in America than what women and minorities, minority women and minority men, did to provide the necessary ships for America to win the war. If those ships were not built, the aircraft carriers and the big gunboats, they could not operate in the Pacific. It was only with the support of those vessels that were built in Richmond, California, in the Bay Area, and other parts of the nation that allowed the United States to surge the material, the ammunition, as well as the men and the women that went forward to fight the war. And so the story of Rosie the Riveter is an extraordinarily good example of America in all of its ethnicity, in all of its culture, men and women working together to create a successful opportunity for America to win World War II. And for these idiots to go through and to try to somehow take away the full story, the good and the bad, in all of our national parks, denies Americans, this generation and future generation, a necessary understanding of who we are and what we did. And I'm using the big capital W-E. This was not done by just a bunch of white men. This was done by men and women and ethnicities of every kind across this entire nation. And what can we do? We can fight everywhere we can in committees. We're going to put additional amendments, which we tried in the National Defense Authorization Act, to put a full stop to this absolute stupidity that the Trump administration is foisting upon the American public. With regard to Rosie the Riveter, I thank you, Donna. I thank you for the team that you and others have put together. You have created one of the most important stories of the America that did and could and will operate at its very, very best. Carry on. Know that I'll be with you in every effort along the way to stop this stupidity, and similarly to make sure that our national parks, including Rosie the Riveters, have the money that they need and the personnel and the support that they need to make it happen. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And we're getting some very kind messages in the chat that I just want to highlight to everyone, that several people's mothers who are in here were Rosie the Riveters throughout the country, including Utah, California, both North and South. So thank you for your stories that you're providing as well. Next, we're going to go to Lynn Dunlap, and then we're going to, and I'm sorry for pronunciations, but Jerry Lalondeberg. Jerry Lalondeberg, you'll go after Lynn. Lynn, you should be live.
Great, thank you so much. Representative Garamendi, I was just wondering how you and your office are tracking ICE activity and ICE detentions in Contra Costa and Solano counties.
We're doing our very best to track it. It is virtually impossible to work with the ICE system and the Border Protection, not much better. The fact of the matter is they're shutting down a reasonable and necessary flow of information about their detentions, after action reports, and certainly they don't advertise where they are going ahead of time. So we have very, very little information from the federal government. We do, however, have significant information from concerned citizens. And you have every right in the world to be concerned that a bunch of herded men in full tactical military assault gear, including assault rifles and shotguns, assaulting people on the street, not identifying themselves, not wearing cameras, not doing anything except terrorizing and arresting people, many of whom are not here, many of whom who are here legally, and not even giving them a chance to explain, sent off to various detention camps where, once again, they're not given the opportunity to have a lawyer, the opportunity to carry, to address their claims of being in the nation legally, and whatever other information they should be able to put forth. It is a system out of control, and frankly, it worries me. Not just what is happening now, but with $170 billion, yes, $170 billion that the Department of Homeland Security was given specifically to build the largest domestic police force in this nation, a police force that is operating without the normal mandatory requirements that every other police department in this nation has. That is identification of who you are, body cameras, and how you carry out an arrest. None of that applies to the ICE. So here we are in the process of building the largest out of control domestic police force in this nation. And everybody in this nation that cares anything at all about democracy, about the rule of law, about the constitutional rights that you have, should be concerned about Trump's domestic police force, ICE agents, and more we're seeing Customs and Border Patrol involved, far, far away from the borders, inland, are helping to arrest people. I am pleased that in California, many of our police agencies want no part of this. They see the problem, and I am sure they're concerned about how this domestic police force we call ICE is operating. And for those police departments that are concerned, carry on. Know that you have support. Not every police department is in that category. So yes, how do we fight back? Again, we do everything we possibly can. We almost always lose when it comes down to a vote, to rein in, to provide the necessary requirements of proper policing. We cannot carry the day. We lose by 1 or 2 votes. Sometimes it's 3 or 4, but it's close. We do our best to try to bring 1 or 2 Republicans on board so that we have an opportunity to pass the legislation, the amendments to put this to a stop. We've not been successful. We will try again when we return in September, on September 2nd, and I will assure you when the National Defense Authorization Act comes up, there will be amendments about all of this, and also amendments that will prohibit the Department of Defense ever becoming an internal police department. You often hear the term posse comitatus. That is a 200-year-old law that says the American military cannot, should not, and will not be a domestic police force. However, the Trump administration is radically stretching the opportunity for the military to become a domestic police force, contrary to the intent and the purpose of the posse comitatus law. So to deal with this, 2 weeks ago, about a month ago, with my colleagues on the Armed Services Committee, we put forth an amendment that would clarify, strengthen the posse comitatus law so that the military could not be used for domestic policing, except in most extraordinary circumstances. And that would be an invasion. I mean, a real invasion by a foreign army, not by one of Trump's manipulated invasion speeches. So we'll see. We're going to push back everywhere we can. Once again, all of this is on our website. The details are there. The votes are there. The legislation also. I suggest you take a look. Thank you for this. I hope you are as concerned as I am. And by the way, the demonstrations on the corners, 5, 10 people with signs every weekend. Thank you. Keep that up. And thank you for making it peaceful. Do not get arrested. Do it peacefully. Police say move on. Well, move on to the next corner, but obey and don't do anything that would get you into trouble.
Thank you so much, sir. On deck, we have Julia Hart. Julia Hart, you will be right after we go to Jerry. Jerry Lundberg, you should be live.
Congressman, I want to thank you for facilitating all of us participating in this part of democracy. I've always been pleased to be able to do this. And I've been well aware of your work since the early 80s in the state. You've been a yeoman in all of this, and I want to personally thank you for that. Can you explain some more about Gaza and how you think the Armed Services Committee can reduce military aid to Israel in the face of genocide? That's been a concern of mine.
Well, as I said a few moments ago, I share your concern in every way. Yeah, the Armed Services Committee, it is a law when it actually passes. We haven't yet taken it up on the floor of the House. That'll be a chance for additional amendments, some of which I've already talked about. And I'm sure we're going to put forth, once again, the Posse Comitatus Law Improvement Act. And so, since it is a law, it has the opportunity to affect everything. Every angle, every other law can be affected by writing into the National Defense Authorization Act, thou shalt do this, you shall not do that. So we can do that. What's it take to do that? Well, it would take a majority of the votes on the floor of the House. And so we can, using the National Defense Authorization Act, restrict the sale or the gifting of certain weapons to Israel. And I've been calling for that for, well, it must be, 15, 17 months now. Don't sell Israel, don't give Israel the bombs that'll destroy an entire block or take down an apartment building and kill hundreds of or dozens of civilians at a time. Not been successful in getting that written into law, so that's a pressure point that we apply to first the Biden administration, which unfortunately did not follow up on any of it, but continued to supply those bombs and similar munitions. So we write a law and says you can't do it. Well, president signs that bill. They can't do it. That's the law of the land. And that affects the Department of State, the Defense Department, and any other agency in the government. So we have that power. We will take that up probably in the first 2 to 3 weeks of September. We'll do floor amendments. Do we have a shot at it? There's a sea change coming on, particularly with regard to hunger and famine and in Gaza. The weapons are a direct piece of that. Maybe we'll write that into the NDAA. Maybe we'll get it through the Senate. We're going to fight like hell to do that. And there are many other pieces that are similar that we can write into the National Defense Authorization Act. I'm a senior member. I have a little bit of sway. If I use that sway wisely, together with my colleagues, a couple of Republicans, most of the Democrats are sympathetic and would probably vote with it. So we'll give it a go. We'll push everywhere we can. The National Defense Authorization Act, watch it closely. It may be the first train to leave the Congress. And on that train, there may be any number of cars with pieces of legislation that have nothing to do with national defense. We'll see. It is a common practice to add on to a must-pass piece of legislation a lot of writers along the way. So we'll see what happens. Keep an eye on it. Watch our website. We'll keep you up to date. Thank you for the question.
Thank you, sir. And our new person on deck is going to be Gary Atten. Gary Atten, you will be right after Julia Hart. Julia, you should be live.
Hi. So I had a question about the redistricting efforts that are happening in Texas and possibly Mississippi. And I'm wondering if California Democrats are going to do anything to sort of fight back. I'm definitely wondering if Democrats are going to realize that we really can't play fair when the other side is not playing fair, and the times are unprecedented, and it's really time for us to maybe redistrict also and fight back. So I'm wondering if there are any sort of plans, especially in our state, to redistrict so we can do that.
Well, fighting back seems to be what we do nowadays. We don't propose legislation, we fight back in every way possible. The redistricting that is being discussed in Texas is a fight that must occur in Texas. And so for you and anybody else on this call that thinks that, as I do, that the Texas redistricting is dead wrong, it is stacking the deck in favor of Trump and all the crazy, insane things that are going on there, and not in the long-term and even the short-term interests of America. So first, the fight is in Texas. Do you have relatives in Texas? Are they out on the street corner protesting the redistricting that is occurring in their state? Do you have children that are going to school at any one of the universities in Texas? Are they actively pushing back? Are they contacting their legislators in Texas? That's where the fight is. So carry the fight to Texas. Carry the fight to the Texas legislators. We can sit in California and moan and groan, and we do have plans, and I'll talk about that in a few moments. But first of all, engage in Texas. Plenty of California companies have moved to Texas. Do you like what's happening? Yes, no. If it's no, contact the Texas representatives in your area. Now, what else can we do? There is an effort underway to redistrict in California. Tit for tat. You do it in Texas, we'll do it in California. We have a governor. We have both houses. Can it be done? It's complex in California because we also have a law that sets up a redistricting commission. It's not clear, although most people now believe that it would take a special election to overcome the current redistricting law in California, which requires redistricting be done by a commission. I use the word not clear. Hang on to that word. We don't yet know. So maybe a special election to authorize a mid-decade redistricting. We'll see what happens. Now, beyond that, there are vulnerable California Democrats in Congress. If you think they should stay, then help them. If you think that there are vulnerable Republicans that should go, then get engaged. I'm going to let it go at that. I don't want to get any more political about that. But as I said, for those of you that have relatives in Texas, get them engaged. Similarly, in California, don't wait until 3 months before the election, whether it's a primary or a general. Engage now. Voter registration, which I'm putting forward as a nonpartisan thing. Voter registration. Change the dynamics by registering voters. And, of course, the process of grassroots, Republicans, Democrats both do it. Unfortunately, for me, Republicans are pretty good at it. Democrats, well, not so much. So all of those things that are successful in any election, get involved now. Don't wait until 3 months or 2 months before the election. I'll let it go at that. You might want to watch, you will, I'm sure, want to watch this closely. It is a rapidly developing situation. I don't know which way it will go in California, but I do know that you don't have to wait and see. You can act now. You can get off this call and call your daughter at TCU and say, hey, what are you doing about this? Thank you so very much for the question.
Thank you, sir. And our new person on deck is going to be Donna Patey. Donna Patey, you'll be right after Gary Atten. Gary, please unmute and ask your question to the congressman.
I've had an opportunity to meet with you on a couple of occasions when I was serving in the California Air National Guard, once in Washington, D.C. in your office, and once at Beale Air Force Base when you came up for the ribbon cutting for our new wing headquarters there. So, and I'm very proud to have you as a representative in our district. My question, the Trump administration is actively looking for excuses to deport Afghan refugees back to Afghanistan. refugees who partnered with us to build a better, more inclusive Afghan society. What are you doing and what can we do to stop this immoral betrayal of the trust these Afghan patriots placed in the United States?
I'm going to take a deep breath. I don't want to go on, well, I guess I do go on a rant here. First of all, thank you for your service. Thank you. Thank you what the California National Guard, you and others have been able to do to really move the National Guard to tomorrow. You have done that in cyber and space issues. This facility at Beale is now in the process of becoming even more engaged in the space activities and cyber activities, and in large because of the work you did. So thank you for that. Extremely important for our national defense, for national security, as well as for our economic security. So thank you. The hypocrisy of the Trump administration I find to be sickening. They rant and rave about the way in which the United States pulled out of Afghanistan. Short but extremely important history. When Biden came to office, he was presented with 140 days before the United States was required by the previous Trump administration to get out of Afghanistan. Trump had set up in the final year of his first term in office a program in which the United States was to leave Afghanistan about 4 months into the next administration. That was given to Biden. So how in the world was the United States to leave in 4 months? Couldn't be done. Biden extended that time until September, about a 9-month period of time, and very quickly set apart the very complex process of leaving. Leaving is not simple. Not simple leaving a marriage. It certainly isn't simple leaving a country to which you have been at war for 20 years. But it was set up. And the process occurred with United States Air Force. Many of those planes successfully, carefully flown from Travis Air Force Base all the way to Afghanistan to remove from Afghanistan American military, civilians who were operating in Afghanistan. There was enough time to do that. And that process was set up. However, and here's the big capital B-U-T, but the government of Afghanistan simply fled ahead of everybody else, abandoned the country, and the Taliban were invited to roll in, and they did. And they did. Nevertheless, in a very chaotic moment, the United States conducted the most successful movement of people ever attempted, with one horrible exception. And that was the bombing at the gate. Americans were killed. Americans were injured. A terrible, horrible situation. The number of Afghans that were killed were well over 100. The Trump administration set the stage. Check it out. I've been more in and out of this. I am correct. They set the stage. The Biden administration did the very best with the stage they were given by Trump. Going on forward, the Trump then and the Republicans then spent the 4 years of the Biden administration, ripping the American military, very brave pilots, very brave crew, even a crew member that gave birth, handled a birth on one of those airplanes out of Travis Air Force Base, one of the medical crew. They did their job. And then they were demeaned, they were excoriated, they were held in contempt by Trump and the MAGA faithful. Disgusting. Disgusting. So here we are. And now, all these years later, the Trump administration, after taking 4 years with Donald Trump and the MAGA faithfuls, ripping Biden about all of these folks that were successfully evacuated and those that were forced to stay behind, here they are deporting from the United States those people that we brought here to save them and their families. It is one more disgusting example of what this administration is doing. The hypocrisy, as I said at the outset, is sickening. Thank you for the question. More importantly, thank you for your service.
Thank you, Congressman. We just to flag for everyone, we just put in the chat all the links that you can visit that we mentioned in the beginning. So please feel free to click on those, copy those into somewhere else. That includes subscribing to the Congressman's newsletter to hear from him weekly, getting services from his office, including assistance with a federal agency. We know we have had a huge uptick with this current administration, nominations for people to go to our service academies, and for high school students, how to enter our art competition. So plenty of services there. And then, of course, all of his social media handles as well. On deck, we're going to add a new person on deck, and it's Eric Balliance. Eric, you'll be right after Donna. Donna, please unmute yourself and ask your question to the Congressman.
Thank you so much. Congressman Garamendi, I am so pleased to be in your district. Thank you so much for all you have done for this district and for California over all these years. I'm so frustrated. I want to fight. I need help finding ways to do it. Thank you so much for saying that 5 of us on a street corner helps. It doesn't feel like enough. Thank you for saying reach out to our families in red districts and red states, and that doesn't seem to help. What can we do to stand up and make our voices known right now?
Well, you already are doing it. Do more of it and do it with determination. You are already engaged. You've mentioned what you and others are doing. I think it was a weekend ago that there were more than 1,000 demonstrations across the nation. And that's an example. Keep doing it. You never know when the dam will break, but you keep battering that dam. I keep thinking of that childhood song, The Ram and the Dam. He just kept at it. And so you've got to do it also. Just keep hammering away. In this case, demonstrations on street corners, 10 people, 10 here, 10 there. My daughter and her 2 young sons, 4 and 6, they got so upset about the National Public Radio funding being cut and not being able to watch their favorite NPR programs. They decided they got to get, the kids, these 4 and 6-year-olds, Mama, we got to do something. They're taking away my big bird. What am I going to do? And so they did their own signs. They did 3 different demonstrations in Yolo County. Not one, but they said, Mama, can we do it again? So they went down to the next one, 3 different ones. They were concerned. It was personal. What the Trump administration is doing is personal. It affects you. It affects my grandchildren. It affects me. And it is personal. And if you care about Big Bird, you take it personally, make your sign, get out on the street. If you care about health care, if your food, the supplemental food programs, school lunch programs, there will be starvation in America. There will be starvation. People are going to die of starvation if this continues. For me, that's personal. I'll do the demonstrations where or when I can. I'll try to catch you in a street corner. So keep doing it and engage politically. I can't talk about that in great detail on this forum, but join up. And if you're a Republican and a MAGA on this, I want you to do some serious thinking about what is happening. And maybe you too will want to get on a street corner because you care. You care about food. You care about medical services. 360,000 people in my district are directly affected by the cuts to Medicaid. We call it Medi-Cal in California. Well over half of those people may lose their benefits. The law as written in the reconciliation bill is a legislative disaster, not only in the way it was written, with vagaries, with the administration given carte blanche to do anything they please to do. So you got to fight back. Join up. Join organizations. Join clubs. Oh, are you registered to vote? Are your children registered to vote? Are your teachers registered to vote? Is your husband, your wife, are you registered? And then will you take the time to vote? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir. And on deck, we have Dolores Benson, but first we're going to Eric Balliance. Eric, please unmute yourself and ask your question.
Good evening, Congressman Garamendi. My name is Eric Balliance. I am a captain and lecturer at Cal Maritime. I also lead a clean maritime innovation initiative that connects Cal Maritime, UC Berkeley, Mare Island Dry Dock, and Lawrence Berkeley National Lab. Together, we're developing a first of its kind battery electric Mississippi style push boat. So my question is, you've long supported U.S. shipbuilding and clean energy. What concrete steps can we take with your office to align our project with federal initiatives like the SHIPS Act or the Maritime Administration's workforce programs to ensure funding, support, and policy traction for a zero-emission built ship right here at Mare Island?
First of all, thank you for your involvement. I want to work with you. We will do that. But first, as you were talking, I recall an event that we did at Cal Maritime. It was probably 8, maybe even 9 years ago. And it was an opportunity for the Bay Area maritime industry to come together. We broke up into working groups. Coming out of that were a series of recommendations about advancing the maritime industry in America and specifically in the Bay Area. Part of it was to vigorously fight to maintain the Jones Act, which is a process in which domestic shipping from one domestic port to another is going to be done with American sailors in American ships. It was, as I think about it now, it was the beginning of my involvement in writing the SHIPS Act. The SHIPS Act is the most consequential maritime piece of legislation, quite probably in half a century. It covers everything that America must do to rebuild its maritime industry, which is an economic security issue, as well as a military national security issue. It basically, should it become law, will provide the necessary elements, programs, money to rebuild the American maritime industry. We're talking ships at sea. We're also talking about the men and women that will build that industry. Not all of them on ships. In fact, a very small proportion of them will be on ships. They will be doing the maritime architecture. They will do exactly what you're doing. That is figuring out solutions to existing problems today. Cal Maritime is a critical piece of this, not only in the genesis of the Ships Act, but in the writing of the laws and the elements that are with it. Any and all of you that are interested in that, go to our website, pull down the Ships Act. There's a short version, and you can dig as deep as you want. It is a very comprehensive, extremely important piece of legislation, and it has political legs. It is a bipartisan. My colleague that helped me write this, Michael Waltz, was at the National Security Agency until he got mixed up in a signal chat problem and was removed. Nevertheless, he left behind a legacy, and that was he had an opportunity to talk to Trump. Trump is on this. Trump is for this, and therefore I'm for Trump supporting this. Not much else, but this is enough. My current Republican is Trent Kelly, a senior member, a former National Guard general. And on the Senate side, we have two senators, a Democrat and a Republican. Again, another Kelly, Senator Kelly out of Arizona, who graduated from the Maritime Academy, not Cal Maritime, but the National Maritime Academy in Connecticut, and Senator Young. So we have bipartisan, bicameral, and we have an opportunity here to do it. Now, back to Cal Maritime and your work. Cal Maritime is a critical element in this, and it is an underused asset, one in which the new administration, now that you've coupled up with Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, which is a good coupling. It is a good strengthening of Cal Maritime, advances programs, widens programs. That new program also has a recruiting element. And for the life of me, I don't understand why the graduates in the area don't look at Cal Maritime and say, oh, I can go to Cal Maritime. I can graduate with a degree in engineering, and I could have, I could be a lieutenant, a second lieutenant, or I could join the Marine Corps or the Navy right out of school. So you graduate not only with a degree, but also you could graduate with a military officer in your hand. It is a great opportunity. And by the way, for those of you listening, would you like to have your kid graduate with somewhere between $70,000 and $100,000 paycheck in the maritime industry? Not bad for a graduate. So back to your work. I will be on campus on the 28th of August. I'll look forward to meeting you. In the meantime, please reach out to my district staff. And I know that you're also part of what Mayor Source has put together in Vallejo, and that is a working waterfront program. Extremely important. We'll be meeting with them also. These are all of the interested parties that work the waterfront at Vallejo, which I am determined will become once again a major ship repair and ship building program as it was in the 1980s, dating back to the 1860s. So thank you. Look forward to meeting with you. Go to that chat room. Make sure I have your information. I look forward to seeing your innovative ship. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And I am the bearer of bad news. We only have 3 minutes left, so I was hoping we could sneak a quick question in from Dolores before we wrap. Dolores?
No, Bradley. I'm going to take 3 more questions. Okay?
We will make it happen. We have
the questions that are coming forward are extremely important, important to communities, important on national policy issues. 3 more, ready, set, go.
Perfect. And Dolores, before you go, I'm just going to put on deck, we have R. Ellis and then Karen Summerly. So Dolores, you are should be able to unmute.
Okay, am I unmuted?
I can hear you, Dolores.
Okay,
Go.
good. Good. All right. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I will try to be brief. My question is regarding the Department of Education, the Child Development block grant. I am a child care provider and have worked with children for 40 years in different types of settings. I've also worked in residential treatment facilities in Southern California. So my concern is, how are we addressing the needs for our future? And you already touched a little bit on the NPR and PBS, and I just kind of want to know, what should we expect from this administration? Are we really going to lose those departments? Are we going to lose those facilities? And how can we fight it? And then another part of my question is, what's happening with our media being attacked to the degree that it is, and journalism? That's a real concern, because voices are being quieted. And I just really want to know how we can.
Okay, here's what I'm going to do. What you should expect is confusion. We've seen that in the first 6 months. We're going to see it going on and on. I think you're referring to the short-term block grant that would finish up this fiscal year. It was blocked, dead, stop. Then it was, well, maybe we can do something with it. I heard, let's see, this is Monday, late last week, that they were going to unblock it, that the money would move. I heard this morning, well, maybe it's not going to move too fast. I believe you are probably funded under those block grants that are out there. So be ready, be hopeful, and I'll tell you what else you can do in a few moments as I move to the second part of your question. There's also continuing confusion about other very, very important programs that were managed by the Department of Education. The wholesale shutdown, excuse me, let me put it this way. Trump attempted a wholesale shutdown, elimination, burial of the Department of Education. Now, keep in mind, the Republicans have attempted to do this ever since it was started by Jimmy Carter. They've attempted to kill it every single year after year. Trump tried to do that. He was blocked by the court, an injunction, temporarily, unfortunately, but an injunction says, no, you cannot shut it down, but you can almost shut it down. And so that is the gutting and the removal of programs to other agencies. I do not know that anybody knows who is handling all of the programs. Presumably, many of them are now handled in the Office of Management and Budget. State Department may have a piece of it. Other agencies may have a piece. They've simply taken these programs, which they must continue to manage, student loans, for example, and parceled them out across the various agencies. So confusion. Now, what to do? First of all, be nimble, be aware. If you're involved in any one of the Department of Education programs, gather as much information as you can. The websites, government websites, they're often a bunch of lies, or lies. So go to every other source you can. The various the various educational support organizations, teacher organizations, and other groups that work on specific programs like student loans. Go to their website, gather information, and back to where I've gone 5 times now, and that is get involved. Register to vote. Make sure your family's registered to vote. Make sure, and the primaries are less than a year away. So that you must do. Work with us, gather information. We'll do the best we can. On other programs, I can give you specific political information. I won't do it here. Join up, get involved, get your sign, get on a street corner, be one of 1,000, be one of 10,000. Thank you. Next question.
Thank you, sir. And Karen, you are on deck, but we are first going to R. Ellis. R. Ellis, please unmute.
Hello, Mr. Ellis. Unmute.
And it doesn't look like we have Mr. Ellis, so we'll go to Karen. Karen, please unmute.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, yes, we have you, Mr. Ellis.
Okay, sorry about that. My hands was a little slow. The phone was a little slow. But thank you, Representative Garamendi, for this opportunity, and I really appreciate being able to get through with this question. Given the various changes that have taken place in our economy, in our policing, in various aspects of the economy, do you support, or would you support, impeachment vote before the next Congress? And I've heard some of the Congress would say they would want to wait for the next Congress because maybe there would be more Democrats. But would you support going forward rather than waiting for more things to be done and more violations and corruptions to take place?
Well, I think it's extremely important what my colleague from Texas has done, and that is he has put forth 2 impeachment resolutions. They have gone nowhere. Will they go? Will there be an opportunity in the days ahead? Remains to be seen. The reason I like what Gene has done is that he has put forth specific indictments. The most recent one, I thought, frankly, he made a mistake. He took but one issue and put that forward. I said, what about all the other things that you had in your previous impeachment resolution? He said, I thought I'd focus. And I said, well, I think you ought to include it all, but highlight this one. So I do support his efforts. I want to be very cautious here. An impeachment isn't going to happen unless we get the buy-in of the Speaker and the Republicans. So among the things that are not going to happen, that is their engagement and their acquiescence. Therefore, we would need, I believe, a majority of the House signatures. That's both Democrats and it's going to take Republicans to get a majority of the House to move an impeachment resolution. I don't think it is wise at this time to attempt a full-on impeachment process. I think that it may come to pass. Trump every day, for example, the last 4 days, he's used government resources to open a new golf course that benefits him personally. That is corruption at a grand scale. It doesn't even begin to compare with the corruption at the cryptocurrency scale. So there are many issues out there. We need as Democrats to mature, to put together the necessary information about the corruption. And of course, there are plenty of policy issues we could add in. But on the corruption side, we must gather that information and then use that to have a solid impeachment resolution backed up by the data and the information to withstand a full-on counter-assault by Trump and his MAGA allies in the Congress. We are not there today. the hard, difficult, time-consuming, and probably expensive non-governmental investigations that will be necessary to provide the foundation for a successful impeachment isn't available today. To move forward, I would want that in hand. I don't want us just shouting into the wind here. If we're going to do this, we got to be prepared to go all the way. We are not prepared today. So with that, we've got our work to do as members of the Democratic Congress. Thank you for your question. Now, I think we have one more.
We do, sir. Karen is next. Karen, please unmute.
Hi, thank you for doing these town halls. My question is, have you seen any increase in integrity and backbone in your Republican congressional colleagues since the Epstein issue has blown up, for them to be willing to oppose Trump's repeated defiance of the law and the Constitution?
Excellent question. It'll leave us on a positive note. The answer is yes. We are seeing it. It began with Don Bacon, a retired Air Force general out of Kansas, who simply couldn't stand it anymore. His moral and political compass couldn't take it. He said, this is not me. I will not be part of this. And he broke rank, I think, early in the new Trump administration, and he has stayed there. He has, unfortunately, decided that he didn't want to be in Congress any longer. He looked to the next 18 months and 2 years beyond and said he's not going to stand for re-election. We'll miss him for his courage and for his knowledge. So there are a couple of others that have broken ranks. Their name has Tom Massey out of Kentucky. He just simply won't put up with it. A little different rationale for it, but he just said, I'm not there. And when Trump says, I'm going to come and get you, he says, come on down. You'll love Kentucky. So yeah, he just won't put up with it. Actually, I know him very, very well, have for the years I've been there. And while we disagree on most policy issues, I really value his integrity. Even though he's wrong on policy, his integrity is there, and he fights for what he believes in. Good for him. There are a couple of others that have recently said they're not going to do it anymore. I'm not going to name names right now because I can't remember them. But please note and encourage Republicans that you may know in other parts of the United States. They may be friends. They may maybe your family knows them. Encourage them to really speak out. Many want to do so. They are fearful. They fear two things. They fear Trump and the MAGA folks. They fear that they're going to be targeted for political retribution, and they will be, no doubt about it. They also fear physical violence. And that is a very, very real problem. There are plenty of folks, not just the MAGA folks, they're found throughout every element of our political landscape that will be violent. Democrats, independents, MAGA folks, they're out there. And many of my Republican colleagues, and I must say many Democrats, are very, very concerned about political violence. And I know we've seen that certainly the assassination of the legislators in the upper Midwest is the most current example. There are many others that I've seen on the Republican side. Tom Scalise out of Mississippi. He was shot by not by a right-wing crazy, but by a left-wing crazy. And he survived, and he still suffers from those wounds today. So yes, that's the first fear. The second fear has yet to manifest, and that is fear of the electorate. And so I tell my Republican friends, I understand fully the fear you have to go against Trump. It's real in every way. But also, ultimately, your title is representative, and you are elected by your constituents, some 800,000 of them. They elected you, and you should fear them too. Elections are not far away. And so I'm going to end this thing right now, Bradley. So I think I'll do it this way. First of all, thank you for your question. My answer is there are opportunities. Keep the pressure on. So first of all, let me thank all, no, last of all, let me thank all of you for participating. Thank you for your civic engagement. Thank you for your concerns. Don't let hope die. And that you keep hope alive by engaging, by using whatever time is available to you. Use that time to promote a better America, to promote policy and issues that you believe will create a better future, a better tomorrow, and the future is tomorrow. And keep hope alive. And you do that by your engagement. I won't go back and give you once again all the things that you can do, but I will end with this, and that is you must do it. And so I ask you to do that. We'll provide any information. We'll answer questions. And for those of you that have specific problems with the federal government, immigration problems, SNAP problems, Medicaid problems, our office is almost entirely dedicated to solving constituent problems. Yeah, we're part of the government and we are here to help, and we can. And so I would ask you, if you've got a very specific problem, we'll try to provide it. We cannot solve every problem. And I came across an issue that was local, very, very complex. It involved a lot of what Trump is doing by denying access and visas to the United States and much, much more. We simply could not solve it. And that'll happen. I'm sorry about that, but that's the reality of the world in which we both live. So we're here. And thank you for your engagement tonight. Thank you for your engagement tomorrow. Keep hope alive. Thank you so very, very much. With that,